Hello and welcome. I am Exit Light and this is my podcast. And today with me is Rob. Hello, Rob.
Hello, everyone. Are you okay, Tracy?
I'm 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 great. Um um Today we're going to continue our conversation about people who have gone missing without a trace, and discuss the fact that this is happening and it's not on the news every day. So we can get your news from me and Rob. Hi, Rob.
Yep.
How was your day today, Rob?
It's been okay.
Anything interesting? Anything
I got rid
happen?
of I got rid of my big snake.
You got rid of your big snake.
I'm not Australian.
Does that take surgery or
It was painless.
was it?
Yeah.
And how did you get rid of your big snake? Anything? You let it go?
Some really nice small people came and got it.
So, just to be clear, some little people came.
We got to be politically correct. I don't know if
Yes.
little people is.
No, little people is correct.
Okay, well that's all right then.
That's what they choose to be called, as little people or dwarfs. So, a family of little people came and got your large snake. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
And they also happened to be gypsies.
I wasn't 100% sure on that, but I think they were. I didn't see a caravan or anything.
So just so everybody knows, a band of little people gypsies came to Rob's house today and took his snake.
That's it.
His lodge snake.
Yeah, I've still got my little snake.
So you've had an interesting day in the Shire then.
The Shire. It's not like it's not the 18th century, you know.
Well, the hobbits came today.
We've got
took my snake.
We've got electricity and running water and indoor toilets now. You know, we're not living like we're not cave people. We might just happen to have internet.
I really, really wish you could have taken a picture of these little people, gypsies, holding your snake.
I don't think I could have really asked. Could I just take a photograph of you for our
podcast? You could just say, "I'm really sad to see the snake go. May I take a photo?"
Because I just want to take the piss out of you later.
What are you going to fight now?
Nothing. I'm a pacifist.
I just need to sit here and picturing that. Like they come up to your door and they knock on your door and you open the door to see a band of gypsies who happen to be little people. And they want your snake. Is that right?
There was three of them. It wasn't like a caravan of, hundreds of caravans all just parked up out my house. It was just three people. They were quite small in stature. And I got the impression that they may have been travelers.
Travelers.
Yes. Or
Is there a
gypsies.
politically correct way to say gypsy?
Well, people they like to be called travellers now. Traveling people, or I don't think
Oh,
gypsy.
oh, because we have on American TV we have like My Gypsy Wedding, and they call themselves gypsies.
Yeah, it's a bit strange in it now that because we have Romani gypsies in this country, and we
Yes,
have
yes.
obviously Irish gypsies, um, but a lot of people call themselves gypsies, and I'm not actually sure which is
But
which.
the Romani gypsies aren't big fans of the Irish gypsies, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's true. But,
We have a large population of Romani gypsies in Texas.
really?
Yes. I have no idea why. I have no idea why anybody lives in Texas, but I do, and they do too. I've told you before, right, that when I was a child, besides wanting to be a nun and an archaeologist, I also wanted to be a gypsy so badly. I wanted to wear the long skirts that would like you could turn around and they would like flare out, and all the bracelets and rings. In this very minute, I would love to dress like a gypsy, and then like yeah, I don't know.
But you like, I bet you like that Cher song, don't you, about gypsies?
I can't barely remember that song.
Yeah, neither can I.
But yeah, I wanted to be a gypsy because I used to watch them in the like Wolfman videos. Remember the
Yeah.
werewolves always ate the gypsies,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's fascinating. They're so beautiful. I'd like to be like that. I actually do wear a lot of rings and bracelets, so I'm halfway there.
And in Dracula, in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the gypsies
Yeah.
help
Uh,
Dracula.
so they have your snake now, and that's good.
Yeah, he'll be better looked after, not better looked after, but um, he's a less because he struggled to eat during the ball pythons or royal pythons, whichever one you want to call them. They sort of go off the food during the winter, and it's really hard to get them to feed. You can force feed them, which is not a particularly nice thing to do. I just don't need the hassle this year. I just want easier stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna miss the fights, so.
Yeah.
Jay says that he got to go to our embassy in Dublin when he was in the Marines, and the staff there told him that in Ireland they're called tinkers.
Tinkers, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, tinkers.
well,
Irish tinkers.
interesting. Okay, well, that's what we were talking about in the phone call we had before we start this, and it's why I was a couple minutes late because I had to get this story. Thank you, Rob. All right. Now, is there anything we should say? If you feel out of the deepness, kindness of your heart, you'd like to support this channel, uh, there's a Patreon link I put up there. Also, one of the stories that Rob is telling is about Glenn and Bessie Hyde, and I have done a story on Glenn and Bessie Hyde, and I put that link up there as well. I think at 6:40, I put that link in case you'd like to go over there and listen to my soothing voice. Feel free. Um, and is that about all, Rob?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you've covered all the bases.
Okay. So, would you like to get started?
Yeah. Can
Okay.
I do this? I've got a printout from,
Introduction.
yeah, about the people going missing in national parks. Now,
Okay.
I just need to apologise beforehand. The grammar and the spelling in this printout is really, really bad. So it isn't me. It's the actual printout. I don't know who wrote it. Maybe Tracy did.
Probably.
Okay. Each year, hundreds of people are reported missing in national parks and forests in America. Most are eventually found, but there are a smaller category of cases that are never solved, including a few close to home. Most of those who disappear are children aged 20 months to 12 years, and the elderly ages 74 to 85 years.
70 what?
74 years old to 85 years. 100 people carry a firearm, and only one carrying a transponder device has disappeared. Typically, a search or go on. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, how many people carrying a firearm?
Out of the people that disappear, none.
Oh, really?
That's according to this.
Well, okay. So is it up for me?
Typically,
put that down on my list.
A search is initiated and run for about 10 days, then dropped. 50% of children who go missing are found dead, and the ones who are found alive are found miles away from where they have disappeared, in areas seemingly impossible for them to get to on their own. Now, I need to say this right. Yosemite or is it
Yosemite?
Yosemite National Park with 40 to 45 cases has the largest cluster of vanishings, and oddly, is the area most disappearances have occurred. Some of these points now don't make sense, but I'm going to read what it says. Huckleberries are almost always in great abundance. I don't see the significance of that. But anyway.
People, well, I don't see the significance either, but during huckleberry season, people would be out. There'd be more people out going to go pick huckleberries because that's a thing.
What is huckleberry? A huckleberry?
Oh, it's a berry. And people use it to make pies and jams, mostly jams. So, during like strawberry season or blueberry season, huckleberry season, you like where I grew up, you would go out and go pick the huckleberries, and they wherever they grow wild. They probably have farms now, but when I was little, my grandma used to drag me out into God knows where, and we would pick the huckleberries, and you take them back home, and you make your jams and stuff out of it. So I think that they mean that there's probably more people in those areas because they're picking the huckleberries.
Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, the next bit. In all cases, when children go missing, they are usually right behind their parents when they disappear. A lot of these points we've already covered in our other podcasts. The majority of children who have disappeared had dogs with them. In some cases, the dogs are returned, but the children never did. Children who are found alive won't talk about their experiences or say, my apologies, they say they don't remember what happened to them. They're found usually running a low-grade fever and appear traumatized. In all cases, the parents say that the child was right behind them when they disappeared. Usually the child was wearing bright, colourful clothing when they disappeared. And even if they were found miles away without their shoes they were wearing, their feet are not scratched or bruised. Which is something we've talked about before, something you've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the areas that people have disappeared carry such names as the Devil's Gulch, Devil's Lookout, Twin Devil's Lake, and the Devil's Punch Bowl. I think we've talked about the Devil's Punch Bowl before.
Yes, we did.
Perhaps named to reflect the evil people have sensed in these places over time. And here's something else you've talked about. 95% of the cases, bad weather strangely follows a disappearance, washing out footprints and other clues and making it impossible to carry out a search until the weather clears.
Mm-hmm. Yep, almost every time. And a lot of the time, those places like have gotten their names from the Native Americans who lived there. Who?
That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Considering what we were talking about before.
What?
Considering what we were talking about before.
Yeah. So, there's a reason they were named these dark names. And then we just carry it on, and then we just we should go camping at Devil's Lake.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. It's weird.
And the last one, almost 98%. Oh, no, sorry, there's another one. 98 to 99% of cases, tracking dogs are unable to find a scent or simply refuse to track. Almost 98% of disappearances occur in the afternoon. Searchers have been known to cover an area over 100 times only to find the person alive or dead in the same area they searched days before.
Yeah, that's something that's very common, is that they'll find the person's body, even a year later, in a place that had been searched by thousands of people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there, but now it is.
There's definitely something, whether it's paranormal or supernatural or weird, there's definitely something going on.
Yeah. I personally believe there's several things going on, and I also personally believe that, as we've talked about before, the park system makes what was it, $22 billion a year or something.
Yeah.
So it's not something we want to discourage. Not we as in me, but we as in people who run the park systems, which is the federal government, or the people who, well, it also employs hundreds of thousands of people. So you will start scaring people away from going to the park systems, and you're taking money away from people. So they're not going to discourage people. I think there's possibly more than one thing going on, including probably serial killers, because it's ripe for the picking. And
thinking about that point, if you're a serial killer, are you going to take someone off a street corner, or are you going to take someone from a park that's hundreds and hundreds of miles across, and where people are missing 10 to the dozen? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to target? You're going to target the national parks and the national forests.
Yeah.
Because it's almost seemingly like they're not being investigated when people do go missing. They're doing an initial search, and then it's just the case of, well, we can't find them.
Yes. Well, and there's so many. Okay, so okay. Let me finish the sentence. Yes, there's so many other explanations for what could have happened. Like, they always do this. Well, they could have been washed away in a creek. They could have fell down a crevice. They could have met up with an animal. So the fact that they're not found, they're found without a trace, like no clothes, nothing falls off of them. They don't drop their cameras. That's very strange to me. That's very strange to me, that there's just nothing found. But if there were a serial killer, let's say, they would take them and everything they had. So I don't think that's the only thing that's happening, or we wouldn't have to call out, the Green Berets loaded to the teeth. But I do think it is a possibility. And, this is going to sound weird. If I were a serial killer, I would think that you could go out into the park system and really never even, if you took somebody, you could probably never even run into another person on your way out.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's millions and millions of acres.
Yeah.
So
Some of your national parks are nearly the size. Well, some of them are bigger than England.
right.
You know,
Jay wants to know if are the parks in England, so in Britain, getting this type of vanishings, Rob?
no, no. We have the odd person go missing, but they're usually found. Um, we don't have anything like this at all. We don't have anything like this at all. I mean, this is
Hmm.
I when we have done um, podcasts about this. I mean, I did a couple from the UK, but that's about it, really. There isn't loads,
Right.
um, especially around our national parks and things like that. There aren't any that I can remember. I mean, we had one older gentleman who was seen on CCTV acting strangely, and he was found on one of the beaches down here in Cornwall. And it was strange because his clothes were on back to front or inside out or something, and he was missing a sock. He was missing one sock, but both shoes were on or something, and just loads of strange things like that. But that's really the only one that I can think of.
Hmm. Mad Meerkat says any serial killer worth his salt would go for the national park option. I'm with you. I'm with you, Steve. That's what I think too. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It feels like because, like you said, the search is like, oh, we're gonna search for a week, then, meh. Um, and Jay says, I say we all go to Rob's. It's a safe field trip. No kidding. Yeah. One thing I forgot to say at the beginning of this podcast, you guys, I need to say is that we are going to be doing some recorded podcasts for a while. They're going to be pre-recorded, and then we're going to do premieres where the hosts will be in the chat with you guys during the premiere. So we will be able to listen and answer any questions that you have during that podcast. Because of some technical issues, we're going to be doing that for a little bit. And it puts a little bit less stress on Jeremy's computer. So we'll be doing live ones and recorded ones. Like Jory and I's last week was recorded. And I think next week's will be live, and then the following one will be recorded. And that's how we're going to do it. So we'll do a premiere. Then we'll go. You guys will be notified that the premiere is coming, and it'll do a countdown. Then it'll tell you that it's on. And then, like, say, Rob and I will be in the chat and be able to discuss and answer questions as we go along about the things that come up. So I think that'll be an interesting way of doing podcasts as us part of the audience and still being able to answer the questions as we go. What do you think, Rob?
I think it'll be brilliant. It's like a different dynamic to the
Yeah.
podcast. It'd be
Yeah.
nice to be able to be among people chatting and
Yeah.
answering any questions they've got, sort of live.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that'll be interesting too. Um, okay. Do you have a case you want to talk about, or do you want me to start?
You can start if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start about a case that's happening right now. As in, she disappeared on Thanksgiving. And by the way, if any of you, if you guys can see a completely different screen than what Rob and I can see, and Jeremy does all of that. He does all of the creative end of this, and if anybody needs to have a producer or to have him do designs for you, just go ahead and get a hold of me and I'll hook you up. Okay, so this For some reason, my spell check changes her name every time. Her name is Kelsey Barrett. And she was last seen on this last Thanksgiving, which was the 22nd, I believe, of November. There is video of her in a grocery store, a Safeway grocery store. She has her daughter. She has a 1-year-old daughter. The daughter's in a car seat. She puts her in it's a carrier, and she puts her in the cart. And Jeremy has photos of that. Then she went to drop her daughter off with her fiance for Thanksgiving. A couple of things you need to know is that A, she is engaged. Obviously, she has a fiance. B, they do not live together. They never have lived together. And they have some sort of custody agreement. So apparently, he got to have the baby for Thanksgiving. And then she was never seen again. And she wasn't reported missing until December 2nd, which is quite a distance from November 22nd. She was reported missing by her mother, not her fiance, when she didn't come pick up the baby. Her mother had been unable to reach her, so she finally called the fiance, and then the fiance called her back and said that he hadn't seen her either. And so the mom called the police. There was a text from her phone on November 25th. She is a flight instructor. And she texted her job and told them that she would not be at work for the next week. It was not a planned time off. Her fiance said that he got a text too, but its content has not been released. Her mother lives in Idaho. She told the news that her disappearing is unexplained and uncharacteristic, and that she thought that her relationship with her fiance, whose name is Patrick Farzy, had been good. She thought they were, acted loving towards each other. There was no evidence of any domestic abuse. The police said that they'd never been called to either of their homes over domestic abuse. Her cell phone pinged 600 miles away from her home in Colorado, in Gooding, Idaho. She does have family in Idaho. Her mother lives in Idaho, but her mother lives about 600 miles away from Gooding, Idaho. And there's no other family within 400 miles of Gooding, Idaho, so they have no idea why she would be there. She did not take an airplane. There's no missing airplanes from where she teaches. She also does not own an airplane. They searched her home. Everything she owned was there. The only thing gone was her purse. She owned 2 cars. Both of her cars were at her home. She had been baking and had taken some cinnamon rolls out and put them on the counter to cool off. They were still on the counter. So she wasn't planning on not coming home. Her car keys and cell phone were still at the house. But she is gone. So the police gave a press conference, and her boyfriend, her fiance, was not there. It might be Frazee, but I think it's Farzy. So it's coming up as both. When they gave the press conference and the reporters asked why he wasn't there, the sheriff said, "You'd have to ask him."
Ooh.
Yeah. So they asked another question about the boyfriend, and he said, "I don't know. That's a question you're going to have to ask." They said, "Why didn't Patrick report her missing?" And the response was, again, "That's a question you're going to have to ask him," which seems like he's not cooperating very well. He hired a lawyer to give a statement that says that he is totally cooperating. He handed over his phone to the police. He will not be giving any interviews. He will not be answering any questions from the press. His excuse for that is that he doesn't want to hamper the investigation. I am not quite sure why you wouldn't answer questions from the press like, was she upset when she dropped the child off? Did she seem in a hurry? Did she seem out of, like, something was abnormal? You know, those are things that if my husband went missing, I'd be all over the press, frankly. Getting it out there and talking about, his what he was like the last time I saw him. Her mother says she spoke to her that day and she was fine. She was in a great mood. She didn't seem like anything was wrong, but she has gone missing without a trace. Now, I'm not going to get sued. So I'm going to say that hiring a lawyer and not calling the police when the mother of your child doesn't come to pick the baby up, and I mean, from November 22nd through December 2nd, you haven't spoken to your fiance except for one text, and you don't report her missing, and you're not going to talk to anybody. That just if I was her mother, I'd be panic stricken right now.
Yeah.
So Jeremy's going to put those pictures up. Yes. Jay wrote, if innocent, you would be skateboarding nude with a bullhorn saying I had nothing to do with it. That is actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I get a real bad feeling about, he says he didn't go to the press conference because they only gave him an hour's notice. Well, mom lived in Idaho and she was at the press conference. I don't care if you told me in 5 minutes that at the police station they're going to go give a press conference. I'd be there. It's very, I'm just going to say that I find the behavior suspicious.
There's definitely something going on. Not right.
Yeah. So I would not classify this as a, obviously it's not a national park thing, but it's so weird that the telephone pinged 400 miles away. I'm not saying who knows what if I were them, I'd be seeing if anybody saw him at a gas station on the way 400 miles away. Wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to drive a cell phone away. But anyway, so I wanted to put those pictures up because that is brand new. And if anybody's living in Colorado or Idaho or in the surrounding areas, even in Texas, people travel from here to Colorado all the time. Keep your eyes out just in case. I have a bad feeling about this. Mad Meerkat says guilty. Yeah, if it's a loved one, you move heaven and earth to help. Yeah, I get that. He's going to be the first suspect, so I can understand getting a lawyer, because he's the first suspect. But it wouldn't even be the first thing on my mind, though. Immediately, my reaction would be, you get me out of the suspect list, I'll tell you everything I want to know, so you can remove me from the suspect list and move on to find her. But that's just me.
Why are the police not stamping down on him a little bit harder when the police said, "Well, you'll have to ask him." Surely, those are questions that the police should have been asking him. It
I
seems like the
think
police...
that was intentional. I think that's how they were telling the press that he wasn't cooperating. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think they were waiting for that question. And that's when he hired the lawyer to say, he's been cooperating, he's answered questions. Well, it feels like from the police standpoint, they feel like there's an adversarial relationship there. And somebody says normal people would be calling after the other is an hour late, not showing up for the baby. Right. Yeah, right. And not days and days, and you're just like, oh, this is your fiance. It's not even like they're not, they had a child together and they're not together. This is somebody that you're supposed to love. So anyway, I gave several pictures to Jeremy to put up, and I just wanted to do that because it is right now, and it is during the holiday season, and I just can't imagine what her family is going through. And
yeah,
I think, and I think, and I don't know, I could be totally wrong. I was telling Rob yesterday that the reason I'm not a detective is sometimes my gut feelings about people can be, sometimes I feel like I give people too much of a benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And that is not always the best thing to do. But I think it feels kind of clear as to how this is going to end up. But I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just talking about odd things.
Yeah. There's definitely something not right.
Yeah.
She's not disappeared herself, has she?
Right. And without, I mean, there's at least somebody else who knows what's happened because she left both of her cars.
Yeah.
Which would mean she'd have to have been with somebody else. But, I don't know. But they said that her cell phone and her keys were in her apartment. Her cell phone couldn't have been in her apartment. It's 600 miles away. Maybe she had one for work and one for personal use.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, I just wanted to do that story. It's different than the stories we're going to be talking about next, but I just wanted to get her picture out, and somebody's memory could be jogged of something they saw that they discounted, in a gas station or in a grocery store or something.
Did you not think that it was a bit of a weird setup? The fact that they were engaged, they had a child together, but they lived apart.
Yeah.
Is that?
No, I think that is unusual, but and this is going to sound strange considering they had a child together, but maybe it was a religious thing for one of them. But they already had the child together, so, but it still could be. Who knows? I have no idea. But, and also to have a custody arrangement when you're going to be getting married is sort of weird.
That's what pricked my interest when you mentioned, because that almost sounds like they're separated, really.
Yeah, it does. And the police themselves said something about their custody arrangement. So that's, I mean, custody arrangements are not for people who are getting married. I don't know. It's really weird. But you put her pictures up, Jeremy? Thank you. Okay. So Mad Meerkat says, you learn to suspect everyone and trust no one. Well, Steve, in my personal life, that's exactly what I'm like. And okay, so I'll tell you guys something that I haven't brought up. Rob knows about it, but I have my own, through this channel, have gotten a stalker and installed a security system in my house and outside of my house. This person has like done strange things through social media and whatnot. And I feel like, because I talk to you guys, like I consider you guys friends, you know what I mean? Like I talk to you guys like friends. But somebody along the way maybe spoke to me and I shouldn't have spoken to them. Or, you're like, oh, well, I try. I feel like I'm kind to people, but maybe somebody took that a weird way and who knows? But it has worried me enough that we installed security. So I'm learning that, Steve. I'm learning that. Don't trust no one.
But we always have said during the podcast that if we're talking about anything that is what's the word? If we're talking about any kind of difficult subjects, we've always been honest enough and to say this is not our opinion. We are only sort of reporting on on whatever the issue is, and I don't think you said anything wrong. I don't think it's to do it's because the way you've just said it, then it's like it's your fault. It isn't your fault at all. It's just the way someone's interpreted something, or maybe interpreted something that you've said, and for their own reasons have decided to do the things that they've done.
And I talk a lot about my personal stuff, like, I talk about, like I live in Texas and that kind of thing. And I think I kind of get relaxed and,
It's like a community, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is like a community.
We talk about that a lot. The fact that
yeah, we do.
Yeah, people make the effort, and we appreciate that to spend the time, because you can't give anything more precious than your time to sit and listen to us and comment on the things we're talking about and comment with each other. That we really, really do appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about all the time that Jory was so excited that he was able to come on here and talk to the community about announce that he was expecting a child, and that a year ago we hadn't built up our little community through podcasts where we talked regularly to them once a week as a community does, and how exciting that was. So, obviously I'm not saying. Obviously, I feel as though it's somebody that doesn't fit into our little community mold. Do you know what I mean? But it is concerning, and I hate to go, oh well, I need to stop talking about so much personal stuff and all that. But I guess because you can end up with some weirdo taking your picture and pretending to be you and talking to your friends and family as though they're you, and weird stuff. So Mad Meerkat, I do have an anti-stalking device, and Jay says this stalker qualifies for the beating of a week, coward. Well, if that works for me, I'm not saying. Anyway, let's not give this guy any more attention than a girl. I don't even know, any more attention than they deserve. And let's move on.
Right, it's my turn now.
Right.
It's one that you know very well, Bessie and Glenn Hyde.
Mm.
And there's a couple of words in here that I don't know the English equivalent to, so you'll have to bear with me.
Okay.
Bessie and Glenn were honeymooning in northern Arizona at the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is somewhere I would love to go. It looks magnificent. Have you been to the Grand Canyon?
Okay. So I lived in Arizona, where the Grand Canyon is, for 10 years, and I never went to the Grand Canyon. But now, however, I have gone across the very end of the canyon over a bridge when we were moving to Arizona. And I am petrified of heights. And JD and I was driving in front of JD and he had the moving truck behind me and we were going over the bridge and he said, "Don't look down. Don't look down." So, okay, you know me, Rob.
You look down.
Yeah. And I stopped my car in the middle of the bridge and I was frozen. I couldn't move my car. And then there was people like lined up behind us and I kept thinking, "You're making the bridge heavier.
Oh,
All these
God.
cars are being stopped. Move." And JD had to help me move my car. So it's not someplace I'm ever going to go on purpose.
It looks amazing. I mean, the size of it and how deep it is, the canyon. I
Deep.
just, yeah.
A lot of people die over there. A lot of people die up there. They fall off the edges, taking pictures. No. I mean, it's amazing. It's obviously amazing. It's a one that was it six? What do they call it?
One of the wonders of the world.
Wonders of the world. Yeah. Um, all this carved by water, but not for me.
There's supposed to be some hidden caves somewhere in the canyon that are supposed to be full of
Hmm.
treasure.
Really.
Yeah, but no,
On the other hand,
but it's really hard to find where the entrance is. I was watching a documentary about it a while back. But anyway, back to go on.
caves are frightening.
Caves. So a cave on the side of a canyon would be like a no go for you.
Oh God, no. Mm-mm. No. And then there's like deep water. You just the whole thing is like my worst nightmare. Yeah, I'll
Oh dear.
pass.
Anyway, when they vanished, they were traveling down the Colorado River by scow, SCOW. No, I don't know what one of them is.
It's a flat bottomed boat.
Ah, okay. Well, they were traveling down the Colorado River in a flat bottom boat in October of 1928 and planned to boat through the Grand Canyon. Bessie would have been the first lady to do it successfully. Glenn had run through the rivers before, but Bessie um, was boating newbie. She hadn't done a lot of boating before. The couple had run across other boaters a few weeks before their disappearance and said they were feeling. The people that they met said that Bessie wanted to turn back, but Glenn, her husband, was sort of pushing her on to do it and just saying that, you're going to be, if you can successfully go through the Grand Canyon being the first female, you could end up doing lecture tours and
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, he saw it as a money making opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. But she didn't want to go, did she? She was.
No, she didn't. She wanted to turn back.
Yeah. Cut to several months later, the Hyde boat was discovered that winter, seemingly undisturbed. It was upright, full of supplies, but the couple were gone. There are many theories about what happened to the Hydes. Did they disembark and try to do a difficult hike? Did they have an argument that turned violent, or were they abducted? Or were they abducted? There are conflicting reports about what happened to the Hydes. And the following few years there have been a few sightings of the Hydes, especially sightings of Bessie. But they seemingly just disappeared into thin air. So there you go.
Well, a couple things about Glenn and Bessie Hyde. So they had stopped and they met some people and spent some time with them. A man and another man, and I think one of the men's wives, and spent some time there as a break. They went to get supplies. And those people are the ones who reported that she wasn't really wanting to keep going on with the expedition. Years later, in this man's backyard, they found human remains of people, and they didn't think that they were Glenn and Bessie Hydes, but it did seem as though they happened to run into a serial killer while they were doing this, and it's possible that he didn't bury them in his backyard, but he did follow them down to the river once when they were getting ready to leave. He did admit that, and sort of input himself into the investigation, which, as I've heard, is something that
serial killers.
The person who's committed the crime will sometimes do. The person they thought was Bessie Hyde, she claimed that she was Bessie Hyde, and they found out when she died, her family went through her belongings, and there was a whole bunch of stories about Bessie Hyde, but she wasn't her. She, for some reason, she just claimed that she was, and I don't know if maybe she thought she'd make money off of it or whatever. They found their boat just banging up against the rocks where it had been tied off, and where it had been tied off was a picnic spot. There was no damage to the boat, and it was stock full of supplies when they found it. So they didn't seem to have any reason to not be in the boat. It hadn't been turned over. It was nice and neatly packed, and people had, said that they saw them, tied off and were picnicking. Yet they were, never seen again. So they don't know if they went to go hiking and something happened, or what happened. But that was the last time that anybody ever saw them. It's a very picturesque place, and they were both taking a lot of photos so that they of their trip, documenting their trip, so that when they became famous, they would have all these photos of their expedition. And we have the photos, but no signs of them ever showed up. It just disappeared. So
it's unusual that, I don't know, maybe it isn't unusual that two people disappear and are never seen again at the same time.
Yeah. And some people think that perhaps one killed the other and ran away. But No one knows. And that was really the thought that could have been what happened when they thought that the lady who was claiming to be Bessie Hyde was Bessie Hyde. They thought that that's perhaps what happened, or maybe she just left him, but it wasn't her, so who knows? Bessie was very strong-headed and independent woman. She wasn't, afraid of much. She didn't want to stop because she was afraid of anything. She just was tired of it, and he was looking at it more of a, like you said, a fame thing, a money thing. So who knows? I mean, maybe she put her foot down and said, I'm done. I'm done. I don't know. I guess I don't know why she did that right after they stocked the boat. On the other hand, maybe it was the guy, maybe it was the serial killer guy, who knew they were going to be picnicking at this particular stop, because they did, have travel plans of where they would stop, where they wanted to take pictures at. And their boat was still completely stocked, so it hadn't been that long since they had been with him. So yeah, it's a weird one. It's one of the most famous national park missing cases ever.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you guys, like I said, on a recent episode of Unsolved Mysteries, a woman claimed to be Bessie, said that she stabbed and murdered her husband. Right. Well, I think they've discounted every person who claimed to be Bessie as not being her. Is my understanding. And if you guys, like I said, if you guys go up to the top of the chat at 6:04, there's a link of my my story about Glenn and Bessie Hyde. Yeah, very famous. Although I think I heard about it a long time ago, but I didn't know much about all the details, but it's very interesting. So, yeah.
Do you know something that I've never? I mean, this is sort of off track a little bit. Have you noticed? And when people come forward and say that they're the killers of people when they're not,
Yeah.
I've always sort of wondered why would you do that?
Yeah, that's so weird.
Isn't it?
Maybe they want to be famous or something.
But famous for killing somebody or killing a number of people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look how popular these people are. These serial killers in like quote unquote recent times. I mean, I can't John Wayne Gacy. So famous, so popular. More loved than he ever was before he was a serial killer.
Yeah. And
Ted Bundy as well.
You get these women who write to them and fall in love with them. And how could you fall in love with someone that's murdered multiple people?
Oh, I get this. I understand. I know. I can tell you.
From which point of view?
Women, yeah, from my crazy point of view. Women and men, not just women, but men too. People, there are people who are caregivers who think, like, let's say John Wayne Gacy, or a serial killer who had a very traumatic childhood. They think that they're broken. That's all.
They can fix them.
They can fix them. It's a kind gesture, but it's probably not going to work. Just saying. And like, let's say you fall in love with John Wayne Gacy. It's not like you're risking anything. He wasn't going to get out. And then you can sell all those letters and all those paintings for a lot of money.
Yeah, I never thought of it from that point of view.
People are weird.
Very. Very. Weird.
I wish I had a painting from John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
I do. I would sell it immediately, but
Right.
it's so weird. Like to have this clown killer send you this painting of a clown, or I mean, like, ugh. It's so weird. But I would take it and sell it.
I can't understand these women who fall in love with these serial killers, and the person's actually killed women.
Well, yeah, they're broken. They wouldn't kill them. They're broken. They'll fix them.
He's been killing. He's been killing your sex. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but that was because they were broken. Jeez, Rob.
You know my track record with women. Not that I've killed any. I'm not saying I've killed any women.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't know this part.
I'm not a very good judge. That way.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a place that has had several people go missing without a trace, and it is the Donnell Vista Point in California, and I'm going to talk about 3 missing people from there in particular. There's several, but I am choosing these 3 to talk about. So I really don't know how to do this because I guess I will break it up into 3 so that you can, talk instead of just doing this huge long segment. Okay, so I'll just break it up. How's that?
That's fine, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so Nita Mayo in 2005, and I'm assuming it is Mayo. It's Mayo. It's not Mayo. It's Mayo, right?
I would have thought so.
Okay. Nita Mayo went missing in 2005. Patricia Sue Tolhurst, also known as Patty, she went missing in 2014, and Breck Phelps went missing in 2016 at the Donnell Vista Point on Highway 108 in Stanislaus National Forest. I think it's pronounced, and you guys please correct me, I just hate it when I come across these names and I murder them. Is it Tuolumne County? It's Tuolumne. Tuolumne County? If it's different, go ahead and spell it to me phonetically. Let's see, hold on. What are we talking about? I'm looking at the chat real quick. Let's see. Oh, Elliot Roger. Okay. If you guys know the name of this county and I'm mispronouncing it, please do it phonetically for me. Okay, so here we go. So at least 3 people, and it's actually been more. There's actually more if you look into it, have mysteriously disappeared in the area of California's Donnell Vista Point in the past 12 years. And even though the area has dangerous terrain, it seems possible that foul play was involved in one or more of these cases. To date, no signs of these missing persons has ever been found, despite huge searches in the area. They've gone missing without a trace. The Summit District Ranger, Molly Fuller, has said that it's dangerous, but there's a lot of dangerous places in the forest. There's really no explanation for why people have parked their cars and completely disappeared. I have no explanation. Donnell Vista is 15 miles east of Strawberry and 12 miles west of Kennedy Meadows, Vista Point, and Tulum County, California. Between them is back country with Highway 108 situated really close to it. So that being, I suppose, that if you took somebody, you could get right on the highway and leave. I suppose that's why she's pointing out this particular location as close to the highway. The viewing vista is down a winding quarter-mile trail from the parking lot, and it is surrounded by meandering tracts of pines and cedars and granite rock formations. It's a picturesque location to catch amazing views of the Dardanelles and the Middle Fork Stanislav River Canyon and the Donnell Reservoir. It is at the top of a steep, rocky slope with slippery rocks. It's a day-use area. You're not allowed to spend the night or camp there. The tract of land around Donnell Point is described as large and vast, with extreme changes in elevation, deep canyons, heavy foliage, and cold, fast running water that fill crevices and ledges. So, I'm not going there anytime soon. So let's talk about Nita Mayo. Nita Mayo was 64 years old. Like I said, she disappeared in 2005. She was a mother. She worked as a nurse in a hospital in Hawthorne, Nevada. When you look into her, news articles either list her name as 64 or 67. So it's either one of those. I couldn't find one that actually nailed down what her age is. She was born and raised in England, and then she moved to the United States after she married a man in the Air Force. She was described as spunky. Her 4 children say that she was physically and mentally healthy. Nita was a compassionate nurse that was well liked by her coworkers and patients, which comes up because, well, you'll see. Sorry. So on August 8th, 2005, Nita told a friend that she planned to take a shopping and sightseeing trip from her home in Nevada over the Sierra Nevada mountains to Sonora, California. She said that she was going to go over the Sonora Pass on State Route 108. The trip was to last about a day because she had to work the next day. One newspaper source indicated that a friend planned to accompany her, but she canceled at the last minute. It takes about 3.5 hours to drive each way, which is apparently a trip that Nita made frequently. So it was going to be a 7-hour drive that day, hang out, do some shopping and whatnot, and then come, that's how she was going to spend her whole day. She would drive over to Yosemite National Park, which is what we've talked about, or go over the pass to Tulum County to take a picnic basket. And she was writing her life story, so she took the stuff she was using to do that. It's believed that she left her house around 11 o'clock in the morning that day, which seems awful late if you're going to be driving 3.5 hours and then hanging out and then driving 3.5 hours back. Not my call. She was supposed to call a friend when she got home that night, and she never did, which raised alarms. And she failed to show up at work the next day, which they said was highly unusual for her. They couldn't even remember that happening before. So her coworkers were the ones who called the sheriff's department. A Caltrans worker saw her car Monday night and again the following morning. And this was about 2.5 hours away from her house. Because backpackers often park in this particular parking lot, it didn't raise concerns at first, but because it was still there the next day, it did, because camping isn't allowed. So she didn't think too much of it the first day, but then she did report it that there was a car there. On Wednesday, the Tulum County Sheriff's Sergeant spotted her Mercury Sable also, and he began to search through it, having had the missing persons report and the fact that he knew now that this car had been parked there for about 5 days. She had everything, all of her belongings were inside of her car. Her children were already flying in to help with the investigation. By this point, her children are named Cindy, Shelley, Tracy, and Pete. They flew in from Oklahoma, Tennessee, and North Dakota the second that they heard that she was missing. She had bought some souvenirs at the Strawberry General Store on August 8th. Those were found in her locked car. Her purse, her wallet, her glasses, and the keys to the car were inside the car, but she could get into it through a keypad on the door, so they didn't think it was unusual to find her keys in there. She did take her camera and prescription sunglasses out of the car, though. There is on Denell Vista a 1,000-foot drop, but Nita's family said that she was petrified of heights. They called it an intense fear, so that in their minds that completely excluded that she would ever go there to take pictures or to hang out. For the record, for my kids, I would never do that either. So be worried about me if my car is parked at the Grand Canyon, for instance. So they called dogs in. They found no trace of her scent. And we talked about earlier how odd it is that oftentimes there's no scent. The only place they found her scent was at her car. It was thought that perhaps she had fallen trying to take a picture, but when they searched with dogs, helicopters, horses, they didn't find anything. Not her camera, not her clothing, nothing. And like I said, the dogs didn't even smell her scent in the park. Her children stayed, and they searched for 4 months.
Bloody hell, 4 months?
Yeah. They enlisted a lot of help, and they had large, organized searches with volunteers every single weekend. And her son, Pete, would go out every single day and look through the areas to try and find her. Her family believes that she met with foul play, and they have always suspected a man who had been a patient of Nita's clinic in Hawthorne who showed up at the scene where she was missing and said that he had heard that Nita had disappeared but had been found. The man was given a polygraph later, and he failed it, but they never arrested him. Her daughter, Tracy, said that they hadn't even begun the searches yet when he showed up, which at the time gave her a bad feeling.
They can't use polygraphs, though, can they?
No. No, they can't use polygraphs.
It can be an indicator that someone's guilty, but they can't actually, without any evidence, really, they can.
Yeah. So her daughter, Tracy, drove the 21 hours from her house in North Dakota to Midland, Texas, where this person was living now. He had moved and was living there. She didn't tell him she was coming. She wanted to have get the jump on him, kind of surprise him. She went alone, which she admitted wasn't that smart. But she wanted to ask him some questions about her mom. So she went to where he worked, and she sat outside and she waited for him all day. And when he walked outside and saw her, he looked at her. She didn't say a word to him. He didn't look surprised at all. He calmly looked at her and said, "Hello, Tracy, how are you?" But she said as she began talking to him, he got nervous. And when she questioned him, he didn't give her any more information than he had before. But, I mean, I don't know. So 1 month after Nita disappeared, they started looking at another person of interest, which happened to be a woman, which I think is really unusual. Her name was Jewel Rice. But they said that she wasn't actually, they didn't actually think that she had harmed Nita, but what had happened was something very interesting. She had been in the exact same parking lot as Nita's vehicle and had come back to her car, and suddenly her car wouldn't work. There was something wrong with her car. So she had been asking people to help her. And Nita's car was there at the exact same time. And so they wanted to ask her questions because perhaps somebody was disabling vehicles in the parking lot of the women they saw alone going into the park. And they've never seen that woman again after that. They've never been able to, since then, since 2005, find her either. News reports about this disappearance appeared in California, Nevada, Oklahoma. Nita's sister lives in Cornwall, England.
Oh.
Yes. She was interviewed by the British news agency. The search was broadcast on America's Most Wanted. Her son said that he knows she is not at Donnell's Vista. He said he crawled on his hands and knees around that place for weeks, months, 4 months, and didn't find even a scrap of evidence. He said, "I know that place better than the locals, and it's hard to live with the fact that you let her down." That's heartbreaking. She was legally declared dead in 2013.
It must be soul destroying for when the authorities have stopped searching and the family keeps searching and they keep searching the same place.
Yeah.
And hoping to find something different than they did the day before. It must be soul destroying.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. So they her family installed a bench there as a dedication to their mom. But so I'm kind of wondering a couple things. So is it possible that somebody disabled single women's vehicles and took her? She's in her 60s, not the typical person that I think someone would kidnap, but probably more easily kidnapped than others. It doesn't state that they ever found anything wrong with her car, though. Or is it possible that somebody did something to her somewhere else and then drove her car there and parked it?
Yeah, could be.
Because they didn't find her scent anywhere around the car, only the car. So is that possible?
Yeah.
Maybe she had stopped somewhere different in the park and they had done something to her. I don't understand it when the dogs can't pick up the scent.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Or they won't track.
Yeah. So that's my first missing case in this park, and then I'll let you talk about your case. And I haven't seen anything in chat. Oh, Jory's here. Hey, Jor, how are you?
Hey, mate. Hope you okay?
He's doing very good.
Good.
Okay, so are you ready for your next one?
I certainly am. It is a young lady called Catherine Van Alst, Alst, and it happened in 1946. And Catherine was 8. 8-year-old Catherine Van Alst disappeared from Devil's Den State Park near Arkansas. Arkansas,
Arkansas.
yeah. It's spelled Arkansas, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. You know, Texas meets up with Arkansas, and there's a whole spot called Texarkana.
We talked about that the other week, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Arkansas is so beautiful. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, near Arkansas, where her family were camping, and like we said at the beginning, why would you go camping in Devil's Den? Anyway, Catherine was playing with her brothers when she wandered off and got lost. What makes her disappearance remarkable, I mean, there's a happy ending to this one, is that when she was found 6 days later wandering in the woods, she was eerily calm. Student Porter Chadwick was part of the search party that found Catherine. He told the press that when they found her, she walked out of a cave and said, "Here I am," in a really sort of jolly voice. Lots and lots of people have gone missing in this park under weird circumstances, the majority of which have not been found. Catherine, to this day, well, not to this day because she's not with us anymore, but throughout her life, she never ever talked about what happened for them 6 or 7 days. Whenever anybody asked,
6 or 7 days.
Yeah, she was missing for 6 to 7 days. She was wandering in the woods. They found her. Well, they didn't find her. She basically walked out of a cave, said, "Here I am," really cheerfully and happy. And she wasn't wet. There wasn't a mark on her. She wasn't suffering from dehydration. She wasn't suffering from hypothermia. For all intents and purposes, she'd been looked after. I mean, an 8-year-old. I mean, my Keisha's 8.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. She would be absolutely beside herself, Keisha. She wouldn't be able to. Well, I would think any 8-year-old. I mean, you've got children. You can imagine when yours are 8, being left out in the wilderness in the middle of nowhere for 8 days or for 7 days. What kind of state they would be in?
No, they wouldn't be coming out saying, "Here I am." First off, I mean, how'd she eat?
Well, this is the thing. They searched the cave, and there was no one in the cave, so it wasn't as though someone was in there with her.
Right.
But she won't talk about it, so it's really, really difficult to find any facts out about the case because she just basically just smiles when anyone asks her about what happened. And the people that were on the search that found her got a really, well, it says an eerie feeling because she was so calm. I suppose you would do, wouldn't you? It would be like you're expecting this little child to be really, really upset and scared, and then I think that it's like I find that quite spooky.
I do too.
Have you ever seen a film called Children of the Corn?
Yes, we thought about naming Madison Malachi if she'd been a boy, and everybody's like, whoa.
You know, when kids are really old for their age and calm, and I find that quite spooky. I don't know. It just spooks me out. I just don't like it.
Well, that's really weird. And for her whole life, she never told anyone.
Don't talk about it.
I mean, at 8 years old, she would, I would assume, remember it, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do this all the time. People must be sick of me saying it. I try and compare it to my life, and I just think about my daughter Keisha. She's got a really good memory. She's 8. She's going to be 9 next in January. She's got a really, really good memory. She could tell me. She remembers things that I forgot.
Right.
So I'm presuming that this little girl would want to tell someone. You know, would want to.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
And she went missing really, really quickly. I mean, they started looking for her straight away. That's one of the things that was weird. She was playing with her brothers, and then one minute she was there, the next minute she was gone. They looked everywhere for her and they couldn't find her.
And she wasn't clothed. I'm looking at pictures of her. She wasn't clothed. She was only in like bathing suit bottoms.
Is that the picture you've got?
Yeah.
I have another picture of her with like you asked me to send you pictures through, didn't you? And I forgot all about it.
Yeah, to Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy, I'm sorry, mate, about that. She had like a cardigan on, like a little thin summer cardigan type thing with swimming bottoms, like bikini, but not bikini bottoms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. She didn't have a lot of clothes on. She didn't have any shoes on.
Huh.
What do you put that down to? I mean, it's just so bizarre.
I was just reading here that people think that she was probably abducted.
Abducted. When you say abducted, you mean like? I mean, a lot of people have put it down as like a UFO sort of case type
Yeah,
thing.
I'm wondering if that's what they mean.
Yeah, abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
She was kept.
Jeremy, if I give you a picture, can you put it up? Okay, I sent you a picture in which she looks like she's standing next to a troll. It's true.
Was it me?
It's a cross between Abraham Lincoln and a
Just
bridge troll. You'll see when you watch this back over. It's an unusual picture. She's not. I mean, I'm not gonna insult a child, but I'm just gonna say that she's got a strange look about her.
She's not exactly. Right. She's not exactly Pamela Anderson, is she?
Well, first off, she's a child, but has an enormous head. She kind of looks like an alien, if I'm honest with you. I don't know. Oh, there's another picture that she doesn't look so weird.
When I was in Germany, we had this family that lived on camp on the garrison area, and they did all the cleaning, and they were a German family, and there was like 3 kids, mum and dad, and they all worked doing sort of menial work around the camp, and they all were about 5 foot and had huge heads, and I don't know what their name in German was, but we used to call them the Head family.
Oh, no.
The Head is the Head family. And all the lads used to start whistling the Addams Family theme song when they walked past. Dun-dun,
Oh, no.
dun-dun-dun.
We're
Crazy.
terrible.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
I'm
People
gonna
are
go in.
strange, though.
That always reminds me of that song. I said it earlier. I said people are strange. That reminds me of that song. People are
Lost Boys.
crazy. Yes, for the Lost Boys. Yes. I got too excited about that. Sorry. Oh, I want to tell you a couple things else.
Well then, you still there, Tracy? Ah, so can people still hear me? I don't know where Tracy's gone. Um, she's paused her Skype, so you'll have to just listen to me for a little while until we get her back.
Hey,
Hello,
I
Tracy.
I disappeared
You paused yourself.
without a trace. I wanted to tell you guys real fast a couple of things about Kelsey that I had forgotten. Her family has a Facebook page, and Tracy, come on. And they have a phone number to call. I am slacking. Okay, so the phone number is the Woodland Park Police Department, 719-687-9262. And her Facebook page is Missing Mother dash Kelsey Barrett. And they're asking people to share the Facebook page so that it's out there and it's getting more attention. So Missing Mother dash Kelsey Barrett. Okay. My next case is gone because I can't find my notes. Here we go. I don't know. I just suddenly got into one of those days. It was going fine. Then bloop. Patricia Sue Tolhurst, they call her Patty. She went missing in 2014. Patty Tolhurst was the owner of a place called the Patty Shack, which was a restaurant in East Sonora. And she was last seen in Twain Hart on April 18th, 2014. She had left to get groceries because they had run out of groceries at the restaurant. And they ended up having to close that day because when she went out to go get groceries, she never came back. On April 20th, 2 days later, it appears that she mailed some letters to some friends of hers saying that she was going hiking in the area. Just saying, in 2014, she mailed letters to her friends is sort of weird. Under normal circumstances, it seems like somebody would call or email or something. Her abandoned Toyota 4Runner was found with her keys in the car still. Again, her personal identification was found inside, and her car was found at Donnell Vista on April 22nd. Not where she had been going. She was supposed to be going to the grocery store to get food for her restaurant. Her car was abandoned. The sunroof was open, and it had been raining, so it rained all over the inside of her car. Her boyfriend says that she hadn't planned on leaving. hadn't mentioned anything about leaving, but a friend told authorities that she had planned on leaving and to visit Kennedy Meadows Resort 8 miles further east, which doesn't explain why in the rush of a business you are running to the grocery store to get food and you just never come back. That's not a planned visit. That's gone. And then they find her car in that exact same parking lot where our other case was found, in a scary revelation. Her boyfriend said that Patty sent him 2 rambling audio tapes and to a couple of friends. He said that she didn't talk about hurting herself, but she was talking about her life story, and it sounded very confused and strange. And maybe that's something else she had put in the mail. But he said it didn't make sense to receive this from her. They searched for a week, and they didn't find anything. She was born and raised in San Francisco. She wasn't she was a city kid, but her dad said that she loved the outdoors, and she had been hiking for most of her life. So she was accustomed to hiking, but again, she wasn't supposed to be hiking. She was supposed to be getting groceries. And then she went missing at Denell Vista without a trace. But with the added weirdness of handwriting letters and sending strange tapes to friends.
That's just not, doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. Is there a bubble popping?
Yeah, it just came up now with your face.
What?
It came up on the screen on my phone with your face, like a big bubble.
That's okay. So what happened when the little people came to get the snake?
What are you talking about?
Did they trade you something? Okay, so my face is bubbling up on your phone.
It made a noise like blub blub.
Yeah, it did. It went bloop bloop bloop.
So I'm not imagining it. I've not been eating any. You didn't give me any. You didn't give me any dodgy mushrooms or anything.
That was really weird. That was so weird. Okay.
What, you done it?
I know. I heard it though. All right. That was weird. Okay, so that is my second case from this this particular part of this park. And so you're next.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. Steve says amnesia or trauma. Yeah, maybe some kind of, yeah. Maybe, but then, yeah, maybe she left and something happened. You know, headwise.
About the little girl.
No, I'm talking about now. Oh, I don't know what he's. Yeah, are you talking about my case? Because it does seem like she could have left to run to the grocery store and get food and then had something happen that hurt her head and why it made her do the crazy recordings and stuff. Anyway. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. This is a bit of a weird one. It's called, the lady is called Stacey Ann Arias, Arras. And people may have heard of this from from what I've researched here, because it's quite big on the internet, the disappearance of Stacey Ann Harris has a cultish online following. On dozens of Reddit threads and chat boards, thousands of people, strangers intimately familiar with her life, obsessively dissecting her vanishing. The case is mysterious, eerie, and frustratingly unsolved. Harris went missing from Yosemite National Park more than 30 years ago. She just seemed to have disappeared. The park's then superintendent, Roberts, for all intents and purposes, his surname is Bennywise. Bennewise. Bennywise.
Oh, Pennywise?
B. Or Binwise. Bin, it could be Binwise. I don't know. Pennywise. If you just go Pennywise, there's no chance of me going to the park. Did he have a load of balloons to look like a clown?
You're going to skip a park visit then? Okay.
Come on, just give me a minute. Oh, Pennywise.
You're picturing that now, huh?
Right. I've disappeared. The park's then superintendent, told the Fresno Bee, which I presume is a newspaper. It was the afternoon of July 1981 when a group of 6 plus Harris and her father rode into Sunshine High Sierra Camp on horseback. The camp was 9,400 feet above sea level and is regarded for its historic significance, of which I don't know. Being the final... Oh, will you stop laughing at me?
It's historic significance, of which I do not know. Okay.
Well, it's historically significant for something.
Okay.
Probably because it's got Pennywise living there.
I would say so, yes.
Right. Try again. Being the final... She just went missing. Just leave it at that.
I've heard of this one, actually.
Being the final stop in Yosemite's mountain chalet loop. For all intents and purposes, it's supposed to be beautiful, this area. I don't know. It was built in 1961 to make the back country an alluring destination for tourists, offering stunning wilderness vistas and also creature comforts like hot showers and comfy beds. But they didn't want much in the 60s, did they? Were they not en suite? Was there no Wi-Fi?
No, probably not.
Anyway, Harris told her father that she wanted to photograph a nearby lake. It was not terribly far, just over the bluff. Don't know what a bluff is.
Hill. It's a hill.
Just over a hill.
Mm-hmm.
He declined to accompany his daughter, only 14 at the time, but an elderly man from the group would tag along with her. I thought that sounded a little bit weird, but...
well, the elderly man was between 70 and 77 years old. So...
Were you 77?
Okay, so I guess I wouldn't be too worried about that. But 14 years old, I can't see me letting my 14-year-old daughter go off with any man, but...
Yeah. And it might be good for 77. It might look good for 77. You never know.
No. No. What? No, I'm not going to just go, oh, he's safe because he's 77. You know what I mean?
I mean, if it was me, if I'd said no, not at the moment, but then someone else offered to take her, I would say, well, don't worry about it, I'll take her.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But at
Yeah.
some point, the 77-year-old man grew tired and sat down to rest. Stacy wanted to reach the water and trekked on alone. Back at camp, the group's tour guide remembered noticing her from afar. She was standing on a rock about 50 yards away from the trail. That was the last time she was seen alive, according to the police notes. Search and rescue teams eventually stopped looking for Stacy, but that has not stopped her own family finding new life. Today, Stacy is well known to paranormal enthusiasts. Her disappearance and hundreds of others comprise a strange portfolio of mysterious national park vanishings. So there's basically once the police had finished searching, it's been taken up by paranormal investigators. So they believe that it wasn't just a normal disappearance; it was something paranormal to do with her vanishing.
Right.
So, what do you know? Have you got anything different to say about that? You said you knew about.
Well, they had 150 people who searched for her. They had 3 helicopters used in the search, and the park's own helicopter was used. And she was wearing braces, so they said if they ever found her skeleton, it would be easy to identify that it was her because she was wearing braces. They said that they think it's likely that she was abducted because there was no signs of an animal attack or place for her to fall. And they didn't find her camera. They said that she was having some family problems, but that it wasn't like running away kind of problems. And I don't know, how would she run away?
Yeah, I was going to say.
What I think is strange is that the man volunteered to go with her, but wasn't physically capable of going with her. And he was just sitting on a rock.
Well, do you know what doesn't make sense to me as well? Okay, she went to this lake. The old man was too tired to go all the way with her. But the park ranger or whoever he was saw her and she was only 50 yards away.
Yeah.
The 3 things don't tally up. She was either too far away to be seen or she wasn't where she was supposed to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Right. I wonder about the old guy.
Yeah.
I do wonder about that. And how he was sitting on a rock 100 feet from the cabins. It didn't seem to be a part. I mean, he was a part of their group, but it doesn't feel like it was like somebody that they knew well.
Exactly. That's what I thought as well.
So to say, oh well, I'll go with her, and then know that you're not healthy enough or able to go the entire way. Maybe he didn't plan on going the entire way with her. You know?
Yeah.
I feel weird about the old guy. And really, except for the park ranger, he was the only person who had real contact with her.
Yeah. And it doesn't say anything about whether he was interviewed by the police or.
Yeah. I'm sure in Reddit they've dug like super deep into that, and they know if he was interviewed or not. I don't know. I just feel like I think that they mean group by the fact that they had 9 cabins in that area. So as far as a group goes, I feel like they mean everybody who was in those 9 cabins was the group that was camping there that night or that weekend or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they weren't necessarily together as a
Yeah.
group. It was just,
Yeah. Maybe.
yeah.
But I don't know. I think to volunteer, oh, I'll take her. It's
That
strange. I don't know. That's
that rung alarm bells for me as well.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like there's something wrong there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so how far was it from where they were to the lake? 1.5 miles away. 1.5 miles away. And this 77-year-old man said, I'll take you.
Yeah,
That's going to be a 3-mile round trip.
yeah. I mean, that's a long way for anyone.
Yeah. I just feel like I don't I just feel like that's suspicious to me.
Yeah, that's what I felt as well. I mean, ask the people in the chat what do they think. Do they think that that would be acceptable? Be interested to know
Um,
what the guys think about that.
well,
So,
you can ask them that.
yeah, if there are any parents out there, would you be willing to let your daughter or son go for a walk with someone you don't know in the middle of nowhere? I doubt there'd be many people that would say yeah. I would be interested to hear what you all think.
And would the age be a factor? Would you just do people assume a 77-year-old is safe? But I got to tell you, serial killers end up being 77 years old at some point. So
Yeah.
do child molesters, rapists. Boy, I'm never getting monetized now. Those 3 right in a row. Boom, boom, boom.
No, but it's true though.
Yeah.
You cannot just say because someone's old that they're not a threat.
Right. But then again, what did he do? I mean, how did he get away without her having a Josh says no, he wouldn't let his daughter do that. Um, he, I, what was I gonna say? What was I saying? I don't freaking
Um,
know.
you were saying that. Go on.
Was I being a smartass?
No, you're about to say something about um, his age.
Oh, go, yeah. How did he manage to get her disappeared? Was he working with somebody? Is there like he was just sitting around waiting for an opportunity to take a kid? Is that why he was just sitting on a rock 100 feet away from the camp? Kid wanders off. He takes the kid and somebody else meets up with him. I don't know. Because she's never been found. Nothing. No skeleton,
No,
anything.
no.
And like they said, there was no blood, there was no animal tack. Her camera's gone too. She's gone. He's not gone. I mean, I would have beat the living daylights out of that guy. Really. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna do my last one. Are you ready?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so this is Breck Phelps. He disappeared from Donnell Vista. He went on a fishing trip. He was 68 years old, and this was in 2016. Breck had been a prison guard. That's what he had done for a living. And he was it's said by his pastor that he was well liked by everyone, including the prisoners. That his pastor tells a story that there was another person in their congregation who was also a prison guard, and he left the congregation, and somebody else who'd been in the congregation had told the pastor that out of the two prison guards they had in their congregation, one was very well liked, one was despised and hated by not just his coworkers, but by the prisoners. And he told the pastor that it was because this other one treated the prisoners like they were animals, and threw things like, what if he had to give them something, he'd throw it at them and make them go get it, and it was just real mean. And he told him that Breck, on the other hand, treated them with kindness and respect until they didn't deserve it, And even then, he said that he would still treat them with kindness, just or respect. He just wouldn't, have any more to do with them per se. But that this person had said that the prisoners all said that he was their favorite guard because he made people laugh and just was kind. And so I liked reading that story about him.
Yeah.
And what the people in his congregation and the pastor said about him and the people he worked with and whatnot. He had a Nissan Versa, and it was found about a quarter mile away near a trail leading down to the Stanislaus River. They had a 4-day search, and search and rescue teams were on the scene near Donnell Vista from surrounding counties, Calaveras, Alpine, Fresno, and Stanislaus. A Black Hawk helicopter from the National Guard was brought in. They had a California Highway Patrol helicopter was used. The Tulum County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue Swift Water Technical Team repelled into the water and crevices to look for signs of him. His cell phone had been, they said, powered down. So I don't know if that was, what, this is 2016. What the hell does powered down mean? 2 years ago. Was it turned off?
It must mean turned off completely.
Okay, so he had turned it off. Why don't please just say that? So he wasn't able to be tracked, by any pings. They had drones come in and look. They had heat sensing equipments. They brought 6 dog teams to come in and find him. Boats were used to search the Donnell Reservoir, and to this day he is missing without a trace. Not his fishing gear, none of his clothing, nothing.
You've got to think as well, in being a prison guard, he must have been able to look after himself physically.
Yes.
Even though he was a nice guy and he respected everyone, to be a prison guard, you've got to have that kind of physical presence to be able to look after yourself. It won't last 5 minutes. So you can't see him being attacked, really.
No, I can't see him being attacked also because he'd been a prison guard for a long time and therefore would have the instinct to not let somebody sneak up on him.
Yeah.
I mean, that would just be something I would feel like is built into him. And even if he had, let's say he fell for some reason, or had, maybe he had a health issue, a heart something or other, that doesn't, A, take your body away, or B, take your fishing gear.
That's true.
Where's your fishing gear? At the very least, even if he fell in the water and was rushed away, what about his tackle box? He's not going to be carrying his tackle box in the water. I don't know why he even would fall into the water. Well, you'd be sitting on the bank. So it's very That's an odd one too. And again, his car, everything's in it. And, maybe he turned his cell phone off. Maybe somebody else turned the cell phone off. Who knows? But again, missing without a single trace when there was plenty of stuff to be left. I mean, he's going to go out fishing for the day, so let's say, okay? So he's probably going to take some sort of a chair, maybe, those little ones you carry. Maybe a cooler with some, who knows, beer, pop, sandwiches. It's going to be out there. It's a long day. The best part of fishing really is just the sitting and being calm and,
just having some peace and quiet.
Yeah. So in which case he could have turned his phone off. I just want a minute to myself.
Yeah.
But if he's going to go missing, just keep driving.
Well, the thing is as well, I mean, I don't know if this would make a difference. If you were to take a child, if a man was to take a child or a woman, they would be able to take them more easily, especially a child. But presuming if someone did try to take this guy, there would be some kind of struggle, and there would be evidence of that.
Yes.
It's not as though you could just run down, pick him up like you could a child or a woman.
Right, and run away.
You couldn't do that with someone like this. There would be signs of a struggle even on the floor.
Yeah.
Things would get dropped and ripped and broken.
Probably blood.
Even if he was overpowered by a couple of people, there would be evidence, and they wouldn't think to take all his stuff as well. I don't think they would anyway.
Right. Yeah, and there'd be a dust up. There'd be unsettled ground and rocks and body prints of where you're on the ground, you're kicking, you're moving around. If anybody ever tries to abduct me, I'm gonna make a mess, and I'm gonna take parts of them with me under my fingernails. You're gonna have to kill me right there. I'm feisty. We always tell our kids that if anybody ever tries to abduct them, you can't leave the first scene. You have to stay there, because otherwise you can consider yourself dead. You will be dead. So do what it takes and don't leave. And we've taught them how. My husband is a black belt and teaches self-defense classes and whatnot. So we, and something we teach our kids is to be respectful and to be kind to people. So in general, as growing up, so it's hard to then say, in certain cases, kindness goes out the window. If you're uncomfortable, you can tell somebody to leave you alone. If when you are fighting, you hurt them. You fight to, kill them before they kill you. And if you're not big enough to do that, you fight to hurt them, seriously hurt them, so they can't take you. This a prison guard, I'm pretty sure he's going to know.
Yeah.
He's going to know how to keep himself from going from one place to the next, if he at all can. And he's not going to just go willingly with no trace of anything happening there.
He wouldn't be targeted. I can't see an opportunist like that to target him, because it would be too difficult.
I can't see it either. And maybe rob him. I can see somebody out there in the middle of nowhere taking the opportunity to rob an old man. They're like, oh, here's an old man. I'm going to rob him. But then to what? Take him and all of his gear? It just doesn't make sense.
No, don't.
This disappearing without a trace thing, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like because it happens in these national parks, there's no suspect. Like if it happened, if somebody was taken from their house, the door was left open, their purse and everything is in the house, like the first case we talked about, right? They're looking for a suspect. But if the exact same thing had happened to her in a national park, after 5-6 days, you're like, well, there's no suspect, but an animal. She must have fallen down a crevice. That's it. We're done. Moving on. That's the best place for strange things to happen, because it's just excused as no suspect. But I don't believe that government agencies or police departments don't believe that there's a suspect. I don't buy that for 1 minute. I've done several cases where like the little boy, the 5-year-old who disappeared behind his grandfather's house, where 20 years later they said, oh yeah, there was that blue truck, but we never identified the guy because he never turned himself in. Well, you didn't tell anybody. You didn't put it on the news that there was a blue truck. How was he supposed to turn himself in? Or in the Joshua Tree National Park, where the little 3-year-old girl went missing, and other people reported seeing a blue van there, and the police said, oh yeah, he was probably just going to a different park. No, my friend, no. It just feels like I just feel like sometimes they don't really put the effort in, or put more effort in not finding.
In any other walk of life or any other scenario, other than the fact that these people are in national parks, it wouldn't be accepted.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and maybe on my page, or maybe on email, and I said, I think it was on my channel. I said, if people were walking into grocery stores and disappearing without a trace, can you imagine the sheer panic, the police force that would be demanded be at every single grocery store, right? We wouldn't just take it willy-nilly. People would stop going to grocery stores. Like, go ahead and bring the groceries out into the parking lot. It would be huge. But when they walk into a national park, they disappear without a single trace. And after 5 days, boom, it's done. That's what's frightening to me.
But it's like what you just said there. With the grocery stores, eventually people would stop going to grocery stores or wherever else it was happening. It's the only way anything's ever going to get done is if people stop going to national parks.
Yes.
And the money starts to dry up. Then they're going to look at it and think we need to do something about this. But until that day comes, then they don't need to worry really, because people are just going to keep coming back, and people just keep disappearing. And
I think a lot of people most people probably don't even know. I can honestly say until this last year, I didn't know.
Well, I probably the same, to be honest. I'm not.
And isn't it strange that we don't know? Because if it like I said, if children are walking into schools and never being seen again, we would know. If adults were walking into grocery stores and never being seen again, we would know. But people go walking into a national park, they're never seen again, we don't know about it. And you have to pay $1 million to get a list for one park.
Yeah.
Why? It's just, I'm glad that, I mean, me personally, I'm a drop in a bucket, but I'm glad that attention is being brought to this situation, because when the more and more people do know, I think more and more people will demand like answers, and people will start being prepared when they go into national parks. You're going to see people who are taking, the those trackers with them, and a weapon with them, and paying attention to the area around them. What is something weird here? Is something off? Or and also, when they're paying attention, if something does happen to somebody else, maybe they'll have some information that they saw something weird. I think there's several things going on, and I think they're all being hushed up because of money.
Definitely.
So, do you have any more?
No, I'm all done now.
Okay, I am done too. Is Maya here? Hi, Maya.
Hi, Maya.
Moderator Maya's here. Okay, well, it just so happens that my iPad is just about ready to die, so this is perfect timing. I want to thank everybody for coming and listening to Rob and I, and participating in the chat, and just being our little community. We appreciate it so much that I really can't tell you enough how much we appreciate it, and I appreciate it, especially. Thank you, Rob. And we'll be back here next Friday, and then it's going to start being recorded for a couple weeks. Maya, is that how it's going to work? Or Jeremy, I guess I can ask you. What was the plan? Okay, so we give Jory a live one next week because his was recorded, and then after that we start doing recordings for off and on, or the recordings are coming up. I think Jory's going to be live, and then we're going to do some recordings where we do the premieres, and we can come sit in the chat with you guys and during the podcast and answer your questions and talk about what we're talking about. So that'll be fun. So bring your popcorn. Whoa, what was that?
Me putting a teaspoon in my cup. Sorry.
Dang. Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Thank you for putting up with me.
You're a bit feisty tonight.
I know. Well, I couldn't help it. Started with the gypsy little peoples coming to take a snake. Let's see. Do you have to pay to enter the national parks in the U.S.? Yes, sir. We do.
Do you?
Yes, we do. That's how they make their money.
I didn't know that.
You have to pay to enter them, and then depending on what you're coming in for, like you can pay different prices. You can have you can pay to go in. You can pay to get a campground. You have to pay for your campsite, and depends on what kind of campsite you want. Do you just want like a tent with nothing, or do you want electricity and running water and whatnot? The rates are different, and that's how they make their money. And that's how we're never probably going to get an answer about this until we demand it.
See, we have national parks which are free to go in.
Mm-hmm.
We have, especially around holiday places like down in Cornwall, we have caravan parks where you will have you can either take in a caravan that's towed by your car, or you can go in a tent, or they have static caravans like the big ones, like a big trailer
So
caravan.
for us in the United States, that would be an RV.
Right. Okay. But they will have, well, 9 times out of 10 they will have like a clubhouse type thing with. I mean, me and the girls went to one last year and stayed in one of the big caravans, and they had a swimming pool and a clubhouse, and um, you have to pay to like you can either just go in a tent and have nothing, or you can have electric hookup
Right.
with your tent, or you can have same with your caravan. You can either have nothing or you can have electric hookup. But they're not overly expensive. It's some of the I mean, some of the parks are beautiful and they have loads of facilities for the kids. But
Yeah.
these ones are quite expensive. But yeah, I didn't realize you had to pay to get in them.
Yes, we do. And good night, Steve. He says his
Good night,
eyelids
mate.
are drooping. What time is it there, Rob?
3:30, nearly.
Yes, it's late for you guys. Well, yeah, we do the same thing here. Okay, so I'll see you next week, and I'll have content this week. And if you are not already and you'd like to be, please subscribe. We are over 1,500 subscribers now, and YouTube just did a huge dump of all dead and fake accounts, and mine survived to still be above 1,500. So, yeah, liking that. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to be notified of my content, please click that bell. Rob and I both have groups on Facebook. Rob's is called Paranormal and Supernatural World. Mine is called Exit Light, strangely enough. And if you feel out of the kindness of your heart that you'd like to support our work, please consider doing so through Patreon. And thank you, Jeremy. And thank you, Joshua, for standing in for Maya. And thank you, Maya, for showing up. She was at work today, and then she rushed home from work and took over for Josh. And good night, everybody.
Good night.